Good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time that you're watching this. Welcome back to part 2 of our live launch. Today, we're going to dig in and work on a submission together so that way you can submit your first indicator with confidence. Notice that today I have picked indicator 7 to be the indicator that we work on. I did this intentionally because, again, I wanted to reemphasize that you can work on the indicators in any order that works for you. You do not have to begin with indicator 1 and end with indicator 38. To go ahead and get us started and get us ready to begin a submission, we first have to begin with the learn about that indicator. Remember, during our portal preview the other day, I walked you through how to navigate, but I'm going to do it again now. I've just logged into my account, so I'm going to click launch. I want to easily get myself to indicator 7, so I'm going to click on the NCST certificate map. I'm going to click expand all. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find indicator 7. And again, before I'm ready to do my work, I need to do my learning. So I'm going to click on my computer. The computer is for the content related to that indicator. Explicitly for indicator 7, we definitely want to make sure that you explore the content as you see fit for what you need, remembering that sometimes you might need to dive a little bit deeper into the content, and sometimes you might feel proficient already based on your experiences with that content. The two places we really stress and emphasize are the what learn. Remembering the what learn is going to help you understand the main idea of that indicator. You may want to pause now and take a few minutes to read this. The other piece to the learning portal we highly recommend taking a look at is the how learn. The how learn is going to give you specific strategy recommendations to help you improve in that specific indicator. Again, you may want to pause now and read through this section of your portal. Once you've done a little bit of learning and you're ready to begin, the next step is an observation. Remember, for your observation, it's a good idea to have your collecting evidence document with you. So if you click this link here, I've already linked the collecting evidence document for indicator 7. What you'll notice is indicator 7 is looking at, are there student-to-student interactions taking place every 3 minutes during an observation. You'll say whether it's one-to-one, small group, or large group. Is it academically meaningful on the levels of not, some, and mostly? So for this indicator, you'll be working through some check marks on your collecting evidence document, and then you can complete your reflection questions down here at the bottom. For today, we would love for you to watch for this indicator the real world energy transformations. You can find this video in our library portal as well. So if you'll remember, this over here is our library portal, the video library. You can search for real world energy transformations. Notice it pops up on mine at the very beginning. It is here in our portal, but I also have linked it on YouTube as well. Either way, for this one, if you'll watch maybe the first 15 to 18 minutes, so you are able to complete that collecting evidence document, that would be great. Again, now would be a good time to pause and do that, and then come back and walk through the rest of the submission. Now I am going to jump back over to the portal because I am ready to do my submission. I'm ready to begin my portfolio on indicator 7 and get it turned in. So again, I'm going to find it one more time by clicking my NCST certificate map. I like to click expand all. And then I'm scrolling down to indicator 7. This time, because I'm ready to do work, I'm going to click on the briefcase, the open portfolio. Notice here at the beginning, it does have some areas to help you get ready. So if you need to pull out that collecting evidence document, it's here for you, as well as some other things to help you prepare for your submission work. But we're ready to dive right in. Step 1 on any portfolio is providing your contextual data. Notice we have these bulleted points here for you. So in our notes here, it says you want to consider these while completing your observation. Use concrete data to describe the context of your observation in the text field below. The purpose of your contextual data is for me, your coach, to get an idea of what's taking place in that classroom. This does not have to be written in full sentences. What I recommend is I like to copy and paste these bullets down in here. So you'll see it's kind of been copied and pasted. And then I like to type my contextual data here. You do not have to provide information for every single bullet point. Providing information enough for me to understand the context of the lesson is all that we're asking you to do. The 2 at the bottom, I do like to, point these out because I feel like these are very helpful to you in your indicator work. So one of them asks, is there anything specific to this indicator? The strengths in regard to the indicator and the growth opportunity noted in regard to the indicator. I do like to, point these out because these will help you in your indicator submission further down the road. But again, picking out maybe 8 to 10 where you've given enough context of what's taking place in the classroom would be just fine. For this video today, the energy transformations, I have provided you with an example of what your contextual data might look like for this indicator. Notice I put in here a little note for today's submission. You can copy and paste my example. So I'm providing this to you for you to use for your first submission. Remember, you can reuse observations. So if you decide to use the energy transformation video again for another indicator, you can reuse your contextual data, but again, making sure that you tweak those that are indicator specific. That is step 1 for any indicator. The second step in your portfolio work is uploading your collecting evidence document. So you've gone in, you've done your observation. Again, our collecting evidence documents are editable, so you can use technology and edit it right there on the PDF. Or if you are like me and you print your collecting evidence documents, there's multiple ways that you can submit them. You can take a picture, you can scan them in and upload them, or if you use the technology version, you just be sure to save it and then upload it here. So any type of document is fine as long as I'm able to open it. Most of the time we are receiving PDFs or image files. Some people will upload a Word document. Really, it's whatever works best for you as long as it's compatible with me. So this is where you will upload your collecting evidence document once you have it complete. Remember, those collecting evidence documents are unique for each specific indicator. Notice in our working document that I'm going to share with you all, I also have included a completed collecting evidence document for indicator 7. So for today's purposes, I would love for you to fill one out on your own, but then you can also align yours with mine to kind of see if we are compatible in our thinking. So that is there for you as well. The next step in our portfolio submissions is, now that we've done our observation, we have our contextual data, and we have our collecting evidence document complete. Now we're going to analyze that data. The purpose of our collecting evidence document is to help us filter our observation. Whenever we go into an observation, we see so many things happening in the classroom, but we really want to focus and hone in on what is specific to this one indicator that I'm working on. So you'll see here, for every indicator, we're going to provide you with a rubric. They range every time on this 4 tiers, from novice to gaining skill to proficient to role model. So here what we want you to do is basically you're going to select which one you feel like your observation fell under. For me, I really feel like this teacher falls under proficient, so I'm going to put an X under proficient. Notice what I've done on our different levels of our rubric is I have underlined what is the same, and I've highlighted what is different as we move from level to level to level. I feel like this is really important because as you are working through your portfolio submission, you need to be able to keep in mind that you're justifying why you are selecting that rubric level. So make sure you're really honing in on what is different from level to level and where does my observation fall at. Again, the rubric is provided. All you have to do is select it in the portal. So let me show you what it actually looks like in the portal. So here's your instructions for making a rubric claim. Step 3. Here is the rubric for indicator 7. And here I will select what level I feel the observation falls under. Now we move on to step 4, which is providing evidence and reasoning. So step 4 says we need to cite specific examples. Kind of reading this instructions, it says, in order to further support and defend your evaluation of the teacher's proficiency using the rubric above, please provide very specific examples from your observation. Please make sure that your examples are directly related to that indicator. And then if you'll see down here, we have given some sentence stems to help you. So you'll see here in this box, this is where I will provide my evidence and reasoning. Again, we do want you to pull out very specific evidence, and then we also want you to provide a rationale, a defense, if you will, of how that evidence supports the level on the rubric that you have selected. Again, in my working document for today, I have provided an example of what my evidence and reasoning might look like. So I said, I rated this teacher as proficient because the teacher intentionally created groups for student-to-student interactions to take place. She facilitated discussion through questioning, and students responded. For this observation time, more than half of the time that was teacher-to-student interaction versus student-to-student interaction. Due to the interactions only happening occasionally, again, I rated this teacher as proficient. To gain more growth in this indicator, students would need to have more student interactions more consistently. So this is an example of what your evidence may look like. I talked specifically about the time for this indicator because if you remember back to that collecting evidence document, that's what the collecting evidence document had me focusing on was the time and what type of interactions were taking place. Notice right up here, I did copy and paste the rubric wording. I feel like that's helpful. Whenever I'm working on writing my justification, I do like to use the wording from the rubric. So I try to copy and paste it in here and then write my indicator submission. And then I typically usually will delete it back out. But it is there for me to help guide my work to make sure that it is aligning to that rubric specifically. Again, notice for today, here's your gift for today's submission. You can copy and paste this example. If we move on to the last piece of our observation, or of our submission, it is making recommendations. So you should provide at least one clear and explicit suggestion for how this teacher could further strengthen their performance within this indicator as determined by the rubric. So again, for making recommendations, we want to be very rubric specific. We want to be very indicator specific. So for this section, section 5, it's almost like you are the academic coach or the instructional coach for this teacher. What would you say to this teacher to have them reflect on how to improve in this one indicator area? So again, my goal is to move this teacher to role model from proficient. What I would recommend is that the teacher would limit the teacher-led talk and provide more opportunities for student-to-student interactions to take place. So I word it something like, to move the teacher to the rubric rating of role model, I recommend the teacher would need to limit the teacher-led portion of the class in order to ensure student-to-student interactions are always available. The teacher could come up with a plan to have students check each other's work instead of the teacher always calling out the answer. So if in the beginning of this observation, when you saw that, remember how that she was doing the homework check and the do now at the beginning of class? Instead of having made that portion of the class very teacher-led, she could transition into other ways of checking homework and the do now that would be more student-to-student interaction. That is the basics of a portfolio submission. So again, I'm going to kind of take you back to what it looks like in the actual portfolio. So notice here under section 4, site-specific examples, there is a section, another box here that says it's recommended, where you can provide more examples. Note that this is not necessary all of the time. Feel free to leave this box blank if you have been able to provide sufficient evidence in this first box here. So when it says cite additional examples, it does say it's recommended. This is only needed if you need further examples to support your claim. Many times it's not necessary unless maybe it's a more complex indicator that's multifaceted. Then you might want to cite some additional examples, but note that you don't have to do this for every single submission. I also note here, there's another box that says suggest additional improvements. This is optional. Again, if you have other suggestions for this teacher, feel free to include them, but it's not necessary on every indicator submission. Another component that we have here is strengthen your evidence. So let's say maybe you took pictures or you actually have the lesson plan. You can upload it if you would like to reference it in your portfolio submission. But again, this is optional. Once you are complete with those 5 steps, again, we have those additional steps at the end that are optional. You're ready to submit, and you'll click the submit button. It'll notify me that you've turned in a submission, and I'll be able to go in and give you that feedback. The work from today that I kind of quickly walked you through is on a Word document, so I will be sharing this with you all as well. Feel free to reference it and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for learning with us and have a great day.